Today's youth are navigating a minefield of invisible threats, many of them quietly eroding cognitive function before adulthood even begins. While worried parents often fixate on screen addiction, slouched posture, or how many hours their child spends gaming, there's another villain in the story that rarely gets enough attention: the air they breathe. Smog, screens, and sedentary routines have converged to form a perfect storm against healthy brain development. And if we're not careful, we may be raising a generation that's neurologically older than their parents by the time they hit 25. Let's start with the one everyone sees but few take seriously: air pollution. For decades, the effects of polluted air were largely confined to discussions about lungs, childhood asthma, wheezing, and emergency room visits during high smog days. But research now tells us the damage doesn't stop at the bronchi. Fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, and other airborne toxins can enter a child's brain through both the bloodstream and the olfactory nerve, triggering neuroinflammation, altering neurotransmitter levels, and disrupting normal brain development. These aren't theoretical risks, they're showing up on MRIs. Children growing up in high-pollution neighborhoods consistently score lower on tests of memory, attention, language skills, and emotional regulation. Now, stack that with the second culprit: screen overuse. The average teen now spends over 7 hours a day on screens, not including school-related use. Excessive digital engagement, especially on fast-paced, hyper-stimulating platforms, has been linked to shorter attention spans, lower sleep quality, and a reduction in gray matter density in brain regions associated with impulse control and executive function. We're not talking about light TikTok scrolling here. We're talking about developmental rewiring. And third, there's the sedentary lifestyle that naturally comes with both screen time and urban air pollution. Outdoor play, once a cornerstone of childhood, is now often cut short by air quality alerts or simply replaced by indoor entertainment. Kids are sitting more, moving less, and rarely getting the kind of aerobic activity that boosts blood flow to the brain and stimulates neurogenesis. Physical inactivity doesn't just lead to obesity or cardiovascular risks, it dulls the brain. Quite literally. Studies show that children who move less have smaller hippocampal volume and perform worse on tasks of memory and learning. Each of these factors is troubling on its own, but together they're a cognitive catastrophe in the making. What happens when a child breathes polluted air that inflames their brain, spends most of their day stimulating their reward centers with screen-based dopamine hits, and gets little to no physical movement to clear toxins or regulate mood? The answer isn't just worse grades or cranky behavior, it's the potential for long-term neurological compromise. And this isn't limited to lower-income or at-risk youth. While pollution exposure is certainly higher in marginalized communities, affluent kids are not exempt. They may be more protected from environmental toxins by better housing or air filtration systems, but they're often hit harder by screen overuse and academic stress. The pollution-screen-sedentary triangle is an equal opportunity brain drain. What makes this all worse is how quietly it happens. There's no alarm bell that goes off when a child's prefrontal cortex is underperforming. No cough alerts you that synaptic pruning is being altered or that inflammation is disrupting long-term memory formation. Instead, you see kids who are foggy, fatigued, impulsive, or emotionally dysregulated, and we chalk it up to puberty or too much homework. We rarely pause to ask, what if their environment is actually degrading their cognition? The long-term implications are grim. If these trends continue unchecked, we're not just looking at a generation with higher ADHD diagnoses and lower SAT scores. We're looking at earlier onset of cognitive decline, greater susceptibility to depression and anxiety, and potentially even higher dementia rates later in life. In a twisted reversal of what we'd expect, the most tech-savvy, connected, and digitally fluent generation may also be the most neurologically fragile. There's no single fix, but there are meaningful steps. Urban planning needs to prioritize green spaces and clean air corridors for children. Schools should integrate air quality monitoring alongside mental health education. Families need better tools, not guilt trips, for managing screen time, and public health campaigns must start treating physical activity as a cognitive intervention, not just a fitness goal. Because the brain, like the body, is only as healthy as the environment it lives in. And if we don't clear the smog, both literal and digital, we may be sacrificing the mental clarity of an entire generation before they even get a chance to grow into it. It turns out the real threat to our kids' minds isn't just the blue light from their phones. It's the gray haze outside, the stale air inside, and the hours spent sitting still, swiping through a digital world, while their real-world brain quietly slows down.